How's everyone doing? Marie, Grace, thank you for being on Popternative. Really appreciate it.
Oh, happy to be here.
I find it really interesting because, Bones of Crows, the 5-part limited series coming in the fall to CBC, CBGN, as well as APTN. I mean, I want to start with you, Marie, with this, but Grace, I'd love to have your thoughts as well, because I'm interested in the mindset of expanding. This was the feature film that kind of debuted at TIFF in 2022. Now with the stories being expanded, what is that kind of mindset like from kind of a writing, directing perspective, Marie, of just expanding this really important story specifically?
It's like we should expand our minds. That's what it's about, right? No, I mean, originally it was obviously it was a 5-part miniseries, and then we also got to make a feature. But it's such a kind of a cool challenge, a huge challenge as a creator to create a feature for that audience, and now this 5-part miniseries coming out for another audience. But I believe that, those two things speak to each other, and that really what we're looking at is, we're laughing about expanding the minds, but really we're expanding the story. We're getting to see more of the story, more of the characters that hopefully people fell in love with in the feature, and seeing their point of view and how that dominoes and how that, interweaves with Aline's character.
Absolutely. And Grace, from an acting storyteller perspective, how big was that kind of mindset change, or maybe not that much specifically from working on the feature film and now working on the 5-part limited series specifically?
Well, I think technically we shot it all at the same block. So it was 6 months, 5 months of our lives, 5 different cities. We worked incredibly hard, Marie, for the last many years, I'm sure, and years after that to finish post. And yeah, for me, it was just like, it was bigger than I've ever seen. We'd never done we were traveling over mountains, flying planes, getting between locations and telling stories across BC. And it's the biggest production I've ever seen when it comes to Indigenous representation. And I'm just so proud of our producers and Marie and everyone involved.
This specifically, focusing on the limited series, Marie, I mean, the cinematography and what this looks like and how this is shot is just absolutely incredible and so stunning. Like, I do have to say that, Marie, like, I gotta give a shout out to the crew, because this is just unbelievable to see.
Yeah. Well, Vince and, Vince Arvidsson and the rest of our team, I can't give it up enough for them, because really it was a labor of love, and the idea to really understand Indigenous people the way we do, the beauty of Indigenous people, understand the land the way we do, the beauty of that, and how those two things are, they're linked. We're linked to where we come from, we're linked to this land, and that was a very big part of that storytelling.
Absolutely. Grace, question for you, but Marie, I would love to, from a directing perspective and writing perspective, kind of get your take on this as well. In the limited series, there's obviously the time jumps of different kind of times in the lives and everything. And I think that is done so amazing with the aesthetic and how it looks and the aging. What was that like specifically, reading that in the script, Grace, specifically, seeing all those kind of time jumps and going to different kind of times specifically?
I knew this was going to be one of the biggest challenges I've had as an actress. And I knew what it would take. One of my favorite shows right now is This Is Us.
Yep.
And I love, because it feels similar in the sense of you follow someone from their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And I always wanted to do that for my own vain reasons, to understand how to perform through generations, how to change my body, my voice, my, the way that I hold myself. So this was it. And I knew it. I was like, this is my chance to really flex. And it was so incredibly hard, because I think I could probably improve, but I gave it my all. And it was more about understanding emotionally where I am in my life. Am I being soft? Am I being hard? How much am I fighting? What am I fighting? What is going on? Where am I? One day I'm 30, one day I'm 60.
Yes.
Like, it was so technically brilliant from the writing standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
When I read it, it blew my mind. So the fact that I get to tell that story, I'm just forever grateful. And I can't believe that I got this opportunity, honestly.
That's so interesting, coming from kind of the acting, storytelling, actually like kind of filming that perspective of things. And now kind of going to the other side, Marie, like I want to know about, before that kind of goes on screen, what is that like, kind of writing that specifically? Like, that is so interesting to me, kind of seeing it on the screen. But even before those steps, like I can't even imagine, that must have been kind of tricky to get certain things down in a certain kind of time, certain things that are said in certain times and everything. I'm just curious about that.
Well, and how long did you wait for too?
Well, I mean,
number one,
you know, it's a little bit like a Rubik's cube. You know, you're kind of you're turning and making turns for characters and lining that up with somebody else's journey or a parallel idea. So it's very organic, but also very technical. And I just felt, I think Grace and I have said it a few times, where it was really hard and challenging, and you know, all the things that we were meant to do is hard and challenging, and it came at a time when it should have been, you know what I mean? Sometimes that doesn't happen, where you're kind of ready, you never know what's going to come at you, but you're ready for it and you want it, you know, you want it so bad to be everything that you know you can bring. And so I think that helps when you're in these you know, constructions where you go, okay, not exactly sure how it's going to work this moment, but I know it's going to work. And, you know, your heart and your spirit begins to understand it. And of course, psychologically, you're building characters that are leaning into that. And I you know, I was just really blessed with you know, Grace as this lead, because it's not an easy thing, you know. It's, I think what I loved about it, you know, as a writer and as a director, is seeing it come alive, you know, seeing this character come alive. And in some ways, it's kind of like, you know, watching your mother or your father's story, and, you know, starting to see, you know, as all parents, I'm sure, you know, they tell you some parts of their story, but they don't tell you all the parts of their story. And through our lives, we're collecting those stories and we get to know them differently, so that when we see them in person, they seem a bit different the next time we talk to them, because we now understand a piece of their story that we never understood, could never know until, you know, it was revealed. So I kind of loved that it was a little bit like completing a story that had never been fully told.
Absolutely. And this is where this is also where I get very like passionate in this interview, because this is really important for me to say. So we always kind of gravitate towards this idea of, you know, escapism and entertainment when we watch TV and film. I feel like that's always the thing that everyone comes to mind with and everything. But I am a big believer and strong advocate of education and awareness with TV and film. And this is what we have with Bones of Crows. And I feel like that is so important, and this is done so incredible. And that is my favorite thing about storytelling, Marie. Stories that weren't told are finally getting told. And I put that over everything else. You want to have entertainment, you want to have a good time, you want to escape. I understand that. But now with the times and everything, we need to be educated on certain things. We need to have that ability. And I think Bones of Crow does that, and it's so important that it does that. So I hope everyone in the fall watches it. So to both of you, I just wanted to say very quickly, thank you for this limited series.
Thank you. I think you're right. Education.
It's education. I mean, think about it though, Marie. I just want to know, because
we're just planting seed.
Well, Marie, you wear many hats in this industry, right? With this one as well. You know, you wrote this, directed it very quickly before we wrap. I mean, there are a lot of important reasons why creatives make things, and I think education and raising awareness is a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's brought up with a lot of filmmakers that told stories that I had never heard before from their backgrounds, you know, whether it be the Black community or Latino or Jewish communities saying their truth. And I was forever changed by understanding that, you know, in a way that I could through cinema, through the ability to lead with your heart, you know, and build empathy. So I do think it's important to raise our voice on things that we've never been able to say.
Absolutely.
And the time is now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Grace Marie, thank you so much for your time. And again, thank you for Bones of Crows. I mean, CBC Gem, APTN, September 20th. They're going to be able to check out the 5-part limited series, and it's going to drop every week. Thank you so much. It was an honor and privilege to speak with both of you. Thank you.
Cheers. So nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.